Page 9, Etude on ledger lines in G major. Whatever. Okay, let's talk ledger lines. On page 8, they're showing you some and how they work. You can get as complicated as this as you want, but it's really pretty simple. You've been using a ledger line for a long time, so no big deal, I hope. You see the staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. So that's only a limited number. That's like, what, 9 notes or so that we can get. Actually, there's 11 notes you can get with a regular staff. To cover the staff, it covers 11 notes. But there's a lot more notes than that available, so we need a way of adding notes. That's what ledger lines are for. They let us expand, so we got more notes. So you're just going to love it. I know you are. As if we don't have enough notes already. Well, let's take a look. Remember middle C. We've been using it forever. It's on a ledger line. It's a little line that is outside the staff, above or below, whatever. And middle C is on a ledger line between the staffs. That's why it's called middle C, because it's in the middle of a grand staff. Well, I went through this. Go back to the other books. I explained this in detail there. Here, they're talking about borrowing lines from the other stuff. Never considered it borrowing, but if that helps you, that's fine. You can think of it that way. The ledger lines work the same as the lines do on a staff. In other words, it's every other note. For instance, in treble clef, the bottom line on the staff is an E, and the next is a G, and then a B, and then a D, and then an F. That's 5 lines. For the treble clef, they're every other note. So if I want to add lines above or below it, it's going to be every note. Above it would be an A, and then a C, and an E, and a G. I could just keep adding lines. Going down, it's the same thing. E, I can C, middle C is 1. Remember middle C? 2 would be here. 3 lines, 4 D. I could just keep adding lines above or below the staffs. That's really all it is. They're saying, well, we're borrowing because, and let's take a bass clef here. The top line on bass clef is A, and then the first ledger line is middle C, right? So if we take another ledger line above that, now we're at the bottom line on treble clef, because an E is the bottom line on treble clef. It's like these are the same as the lines on treble clef. I personally have not found that helpful at all, but if it helps you, great, go for it. Just, I remember it because they're every other note, and you can figure it out real quick. Now, in my opinion, just my opinion, you should memorize the notes up to 3 ledger lines above or below either staff. And the reason I use 3 is because I can look at a note, glance at a note, and I can tell how many ledger lines there are if there's 3 or fewer. I can see how many, I don't have to count them. But when they start getting 4, 5, and 6 ledger lines, I got to stop and count them and figure them out, because that's too many. I can't tell how many that is. So I don't even bother to try and memorize those. I just stop and figure them out, and then I figure out the note. Then I take a pencil and I write in the name of the note in the music, so I don't have to figure it out again for that piece, right? And that's how I do it. You'll come up with your own system. But in my opinion, up to 3 ledger lines above or below. And here they're showing 3 ledger lines above bass clef. 1 ledger line is middle C, 2 is an E, and 3 is a G. Okay, just if you could memorize those, it'll help. Now the other notes are the spaces, and those are in between. So I encourage you to memorize those notes too. Right now we're focusing on bass clef. I'm sure they'll get to treble clef eventually. But we're using these notes in this piece, this etude. Now let's talk the etude. Etude is a study piece. It's something about music or technique or something that we're constantly focusing on to get better at or to learn or something. That's an etude. This is an etude on ledger lines, it's in the title, which for the left hand, you've got all these ledger lines, all these notes going into space or something. That's what the etude is about. G major, I don't know why they put G major in here. It's in the key of G major, but I don't know that you need that in the title, so that's probably why it's in parentheses. So let's look it over. 3 lines long, treble and bass clef, 1 sharp in the key signature. We're in the key of G major, which means all the Fs are going to be F sharp automatically. Common time, which is the same as 4/4 time. Now we got quarter notes and whole notes all over the place. So one hand at a time, let's make sure we got the notes and all that. The rhythm shouldn't be a problem, they're mostly quarter notes. But the right hand, you're up here. That puts you in this position. Don't forget the F sharp. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, common time is the same as 4/4. Did I mention that? Fourth measure, C and a D. 1, 2. Okay, so much for the right hand. Now let's look at the left. You're starting up here on a note right above middle C, which is a D, and a fourth finger. So we're going to be in this position. Don't forget the F sharp. And it's 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really wish they would get rid of these finger numbers. You need them at the beginning, and you need them if your hand is going to move around. In this piece, the only ones you need are the beginning ones, the first ones, and then the first measure of the last line, you might need that one, because the fingering's a little jumbled there. But you don't need any of the others. So please don't read finger numbers. Memorize these notes. Say and play the note. It's like at the beginning. Here, you don't need to do the right hand. Here, we just say the name of it and play it. Forget the rhythm. Just say D, D, E, F sharp, G, 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 F sharp, E, F sharp. Just say and play the name of the note. Anyway, back what we were doing before I got off. Let's go down to the last line. You're here. Remember F sharp. Now they want an F natural. We're going to go ahead and use third finger because we used second already. It throws us out of position slightly, but it's okay because we're going to use thumb again on the G. Just scratch up a little bit, and that puts us back in position. So put the hands together. 2, 1, 3. The idea? Hopefully you can do that. Now it is a tendency, you have to be careful with this, to want to move around where you sit. Now you can move a little bit when you're playing duets and things like that. I'll come back to that when we get to a duet. But normally when you're playing the piano, you sit in the middle of the keyboard. Now this thing isn't in the middle, it's up here. Doesn't matter, you still sit in the middle, you just twist a little bit and reach a little bit. Don't lean, because that throws you off balance and that can affect your weight and all that you do. So you stay in the middle, you just twist and so I'm here, this normal would be around here, and I'm simply twisting to come up here, and this is about where I am, wherever the notes are. But the whole thing is I'm slightly at a twist. And I haven't mentioned it before, I should have. But in these pieces so far, you should be able to play all of them without looking at the keyboard. You ought to be able to keep your eyes on the music. We need to develop that feel for the keyboard and where these notes are. So please get to where you can see the keyboard in your mind so you don't have to look at it. And once you have the notes and the rhythms, you do the articulation, which they don't give you any. So what do we do? Well, this is the beauty of it. If they don't tell you anything, you have choices. You can do pretty much anything you want. Because if they really wanted them connected, they'd give you slurs. If they really wanted them staccato, they would give you staccatos. When they don't do anything, well, have fun with it. It's called interpreting the music. Right now, I connect everything when I'm learning it. But then when I get into it, I've learned it and I can start feeling it or trying to feel it. Then I experiment with the articulation. Maybe I slurs, lift up, lift up, lift up, lift up. I'm just lifting up. It's like taking a breath. And here, I can play them staccato. Or maybe I want to play them long connected. You can't connect repeated notes, but you can try. See, there's different feelings. You experiment with these different things, and what do you like? And That's what you end up with. You're interpreting the music. Then dynamics, well, the melody, if there is one, it's going to be in the left hand. Moderately soft, MP, with the arrow to go up to moderately loud. They don't tell you how loud to get. I'm just saying moderately loud. So, and stay there, and come back down. Now go up again. Go down. Now you're moderately loud on the last two measures of the second line. Go, and you're going to go up to loud. And you're staying loud until the very end when you come down. And how much you come down is up to you. You come down to moderately loud at the end or moderately soft at the end. That's interpreting the music. You feel the dynamics. You feel these keep in the background. You feel it. Then the speed, the moderato. Well, you got to feel that too. There's a lot of feeling going on here. It's the overall flow of the piece. It's not fast. It's not slow. Don't drag it. It's just a nice casual talk. I consider moderato sort of like a walk, where you're walking, but you know where you're going. You're headed someplace. It's not a casual walk. It's a walk where you're going somewhere. Remember, it's not the speed of the beat, it's the feel of it. Let's play it together very slowly and double check we have the right notes and rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I'm going to play it all about the same. I'll give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready, go.